Full disclosure, this is not going to be a fun video. There's some funny in the beginning, but it gets exponentially worse until the end, and for that reason, I want to lead with a content warning for non-consensual activity. That said, just before we get into this, let's give a claw to today's sponsor, Fables. Fables is a subscription service that delivers a complete episodic adventure, with each episode dropping once a month. An all-in-one 5th edition adventure, each episode includes digital maps, tokens, and all the tools you need to run a complete game in the Estoyan Empire, made famous as the world of Grim Hollow. Can your party break free from the underworld, restore the sun, and defeat a mighty lich? Only one way to find out. You can get Chapter 1 for free for a limited time only. Click the link below, and I'll see you there. That aside, roll post. A player brings his fetish to the table, and it goes poorly. Very, very poorly, like this needs a trigger warning for sexual assault in its header, poorly. So a couple months ago, I was struck with DM fever and decided to write and run a campaign. So I sent out a message on my university's Discord, and by the end of the day, a good number of people had DM'd me. I gathered them all up, we aligned our schedules, and made their characters. And by session 0, it seemed that I had a good, functional group to play through my campaign. At the table we had, names changed obviously, Cappy, a longtime friend of mine playing what can only be described as a monster-hunting Australian femboy tiefling artificer named Bunsen Burner. Relevantly, is that a word? She's 5'10". Rat, our problem player, I'll get to his character in a second. Cat, Rat's IRL girlfriend and a human rogue named Lady Nightstalker. Edgy I know, but she's generally good in game. Dog, also a good friend playing a female half-orc monk named Muzgonk, who had a cool backstory. Not that important to the story, but a cool guy overall. And Rabbit, also not very relevant, but a very sweet person nonetheless. She's playing a Kenghu warlock named Misty Song. Everybody at the table had a good bit of experience with D&D, so you would think that the creation of everyone's character went pretty smoothly, right? Wrong. Rat was constantly fighting for more power than I would allow even a 5th level character to have. I let each of them start with a magic item of their own creation for plot reasons, and everyone chose something important to their character with some minor effect. Except Rat. He wanted some stupid powerful stuff for 1st level, i.e. a ring that could transform into any simple or martial weapon as a bonus action, gauntlets that gave him +5 AC, etc. I kept having to tell him no. Even when I told him that the campaign wouldn't even be all that combat focused, and that even lower powered characters would do just fine, he just refused to listen. Whatever then, everybody comes to the table for different reasons. There's nothing inherently wrong with power gaming in my opinion. I will just scale the encounters up a little bit, and on go the excuses in my head, even though I know this is a red flag. Eventually, we settle on a high elf druid named Apex, with tentacle tattoos that can be animated and used on account of him being the descendant of a sea god. Still a little overpowered, especially with his high stats, but we move on. Play starts and the players all have a good time. The 3 sessions comprising the first adventure of the campaign play out nicely, ending with them blowing up a giant desert starfish that's been terrorizing a nearby town. But the cracks have already started to show with Rat. For one, he's impatient. He will regularly try to interrupt me or others when we speak any more than 3 or 4 consecutive sentences. And he will sometimes even tell me to hurry up with my descriptions of scenes and events. After a while though, everyone just learns to shoot him an annoyed look or completely ignore him when he interrupts, and he stops after I tell him to not tell me to hurry up. It's annoying, but manageable, and we're all still able to have a good time playing. But then, there's his other BS. Rat would do this thing where he would roll, see a bad result, and then keep re-rolling until he got something good, and then try to convince me to take that one. It wasn't anything sneaky, he just clearly did it out in the open, but his constant whining whenever he got a bad roll was annoying. And again, I just had to learn to ignore him and take the first roll when he did so. What is even the point of rolling dice in the first place if you're just going to disagree with the die rolls? It's like the unpredictable aspect of the game that makes it interesting. I don't exactly see how it can have any meaning or be interesting in the slightest if there is zero chance of anything going unexpectedly. I guarantee you this is the same guy who writes self-insert fanfics where he's the super cool Mary Sue that ships himself with anime characters, calls it a screenplay, and demands respect as a self-published author on Wattpad. Anyways, he's about to get a bit racist, check this out. Rat also had a problem with the way that I talk. I'm African American, and whenever I'm in a casual setting, like at the table with friends, I tend to slip into using African American vernacular English, a more colloquial and less grammatically correct, I have issues with this statement, but that's not important, dialect of general American English. Now, when I was describing settings or voice acting NPCs, I would always use the standard fantasy narration way of speaking, to which Rat would stay quiet. But whenever I spoke out of character, out of DM, Rat would constantly, quote, correct my grammar. Ain't is not a word. It's got to, not gotta. I hate when people use bad grammar, lol. Things like that. This was a massive red flag to me that I'm really stupid for not acting on. I knew that those comments are usually an attempt at an underhanded racist attack, and still let them go on anyways. His behavior got him a lot of glares and snide remarks, especially at a table that was about 41.67% black, but it was never actually addressed, and anytime he did it, the table would just fall silent for a second before picking up conversation again. What I'd like to know is if Rat is actually being underhandedly racist, or if he is just so desperately in need to be superior to other people that he either doesn't know or doesn't care that he's fighting a really stupid battle every time. It's always the people that think themselves better than other people that are the least self-aware, so I would totally pass this as him just being a self-important nerd, as it would perfectly tie into his need to debate die rolls. Then again, both can be and probably are true, and it's this same lack of self-awareness that's going to cause something really shitty to happen really soon. Roll post. Of course, other players had their problems, and I don't want to seem like I was unfairly pointing out his flaw from the start. I wanted to give everyone a chance and actually ended up talking with other players to make the table a better place to play. For example, Cappy and Rabbit had a habit of going on a bit too long about things like battle formations and ended up slowing down combat. But after a short talk with the both of them, we managed to come to a happy medium that let both of them live out their tactical battles and sped up combat considerably. The difference between them and Rat, however, is that they were just so approachable. Where they would listen and have a pleasant conversation about the game we play for fun, Rat would just whine and complain and fight to get his way, and in the end he just became too exhausting to confront on most things. But I haven't mentioned Rat's worst personality trait, the one that would start most of the overt drama. Every chance he got, Rat would make Apex declare loudly how much he loves, quote, a tall woman with a fat ass. Every chance he got. And he would say that exact phrase too, without any real variation. Every session, half his dialogue was just, you see a tall woman with a fat ass. I love a tall woman with a fat ass. Does this town have tall women with fat asses? And so on, and so forth. The table had no problem with profanity or sexually suggestive dialogue at the table, but the constant renaissance of this phrase became like an annoying meme to the rest of us. I'm aware that he was quoting an anime. All of us were, and Dog even got someone to respond with a shake and a brother on the first couple of times, but it got old really fast. The real problem started when he started saying it out of character. I mean, before we had even taken out our dice, he would be saying it, and well after we'd wrapped up, he would be saying it. And in Discord, he would be saying it. It became clear after a few sessions that his love of tall women with fat asses was not just for roleplay. And every time he said it, he would just turn his head like clockwork and look directly at Cappy, who, and I saw this from the perspective of a creep, fit the description. One might, upon reading this, confusedly scroll back up a bit. I'll save you the trouble. Cat, Rat's IRL girlfriend and a human rogue named Lady Nightstalker. Edgy, I know, but she's generally good in game. Cat is Rat's IRL girlfriend. Rat's girlfriend is not Cappy. Yeah, he was doing this right in front of her, and every time it would play out the exact same way. He would say this thing and turn his head to give a suggestive look. Cappy would look right back at him in a black, nondescript stare. They would maintain eye contact until Rat broke it. And Cat would sit there the whole time lazily looking at Rat as if she weren't watching her boyfriend make passes at another woman. All in complete silence. Eventually, I talked to Cappy privately and, being the impossibly chill person that she is, said it was only a slight annoyance and that she didn't really need anyone to talk to Rat about it. I was kind of apprehensive, but given how the main target of Rat's advances said that she was fine, I let it go. I know that was dumb and I should have at least told Rat he was making me, if not Cappy, uncomfortable, but hindsight is 20/20, am I right? As the campaign went on, Rat's advances towards Cappy got more and more direct. He asked for her socials, all of them, in the middle of the game. Then, upon being told that that was not appropriate for the moment, covered up by asking everyone else for theirs as well, hence the throwaway. This dialogue is causing me physical pain, but the real crime, of course, is that Cappy isn't falling into his arms already. I mean, he's such a man. The way he threw a petulant fit like a child because the die rolled the wrong number exuded such masculine energy that rivaled only the time that he bravely faced off against somebody for speaking in common English. Of course, Mr. Steal Your Girl aside, he's about to dwarf every other awful thing he's done so far, so let's finish this. He complimented her on her looks and leered at her, trying to do that weird weeb thing where they pretend overtly to be a pervert as some sort of character, but it only makes them look like a massive creep in real life. Sometimes he also just verbally attacked her when she didn't fit his image of a perfect woman, which I didn't think extended beyond tall and thick. When Cappy was commenting on how cute she thought Rabbit was, Rat made a comment about how girls get to call each other cute, but when guys do it, it's gay! It should be gay for girls too, he says. When Cappy responded that she is in fact bisexual, his response was that he doesn't believe in that stuff, but okay. He also made a remark about how he hates it when people don't act like their gender, obviously aimed at her. Cappy is a self-proclaimed and widely recognized tomboy who aims to dress like a 90s West Coast rapper in her words. She's also playing a feminine male character, which was really funny but apparently outrageous to Rat. And all the while, we keep saying his signature line, even more frequently than before and equally in and out of character. Tall woman, fat ass, he repeats every day, anytime anyone tries talking to him. This entire time, as Rat gets more and more out of line, Cat does nothing. Dog and I eventually talk to her and she gets a bit offended and basically tells us that her boyfriend can do as he pleases. We drop it and move on. Apparently though, and we only found out about this a couple hours ago, the two of them rode the same bus Cappy took to her internship, and Rat had started sitting with her. That alone hadn't bothered her all that much, but he would talk loudly about how much he loved fat ass, and everything related to it there, where other people could clearly hear it. And Cappy basically would try her best to pretend that she was not associated with him for 45 straight minutes. Cappy, however, still insists that his behavior is not something to disrupt the game over, and we keep playing. Okay, there's being oblivious, but Cat is probably totally in on it, right? Like, you cannot possibly be this dumb and unbothered by your boyfriend's behavior. Maybe she's just sitting there, and like a booger on a finger, she's just waiting for the opportunity to wipe him off on Cappy. If Cat breaks up with him, he could get dangerous, who knows? But if Rat cheats on her, she can act him off like it was his idea and then play heartbroken while he's with Cappy. That, or she's polyamorous and into it, but I would think she would mention that when she was confronted earlier. Anyways, roll post. And that brings us to yesterday. Since our schedules are complexly screwed up for February, it would be our last session for the entire month. Thus, I ran my Valentine's Day session early. The premise was simple. The party would be brought into a mass dream where a goddess of love was hosting a tournament of power to see who had the strongest romantic bond. Oh no. The players and NPCs would, in 2-on-2 rounds until the strongest love prevailed and won a neat prize. The party was immediately hooked on the idea and paired off. Rabbit and Dog, who were doing a little bit of an in-character romance plot, got together. And then I assumed that Rat and Cat, the IRL couple, would pair off as well, and Cappy would get with an NPC lady from her hometown that she'd been eyeing. This did not happen. Rat didn't even look at Cat, instead opting to call Cappy. Not Bunsen, mind you, Cappy. Cappy casually agreed to this, and it was Cat who was paired off with the NPC, which she did not seem at all upset about. So we gather around the table. A couple of rounds go by. We're all standing to get a good look at the tournament sheet and map. And then, slowly but clear as day, Rat reaches over and squeezes Cappy's butt. Everybody had seen it, and the reaction was immediate. Cappy immediately spun and pulled away, but it was only until she swung at Rat did he let go. Rabbit was yelling and threatening to call someone, and Cat was arguing with her, telling her not to. Dog would have punched him if he hadn't fallen off the table trying to scramble over it. I grabbed and got between Rat and Cappy, who was furiously hitting and kicking him, and told him he needed to leave immediately and that he was no longer welcome. He tried to stumble out some kind of response, but soon grabbed his stuff and sped out. Cat, however, stayed and tried to berate us for overreacting like that. Okay, yes, she was totally in on it then. None of us were having it, and she too was booted. Although she had to be physically backed out the door and continued yelling outside for a good while after that. After all that was done, it was just the four of us. In all the years I've known her, I've never seen the normally, completely unacceptable Cappy so furious. And she even wanted to forgo calling the relevant campus authorities to instead just beat the hell out of Rat, with Dog looking ready to agree. As much as I felt for her on that, we would probably be punished for it. After taking a while to calm down, we reported the entire event and everyone went home. And that brings us to now. Both Rat and Cat had been banned from the Discord and we have not gotten contact from the campus. The rest of us decided to just take a break since we weren't going to be playing for the rest of the month anyway and figure out what to do about the game. We still want to continue, and even though Cappy is still massively upset, she said she doesn't want the campaign to end and that we should find new people to play with later on. I'm not so sure, however, and have kind of been turned off to DMing for the moment by this entire situation, though that may be because it just happened. Either way, I saw a lot of red flags that I shouldn't have ignored and will probably be super wary of anyone who may join our game next. TLDR, a player constantly talks about his fetish and tries to court another player. He caps off his creepy power gamer behavior with IRL sexual assault. Not hearing from campus authorities after something that serious is genuinely concerning, and I hope that the players involved can continue enjoying themselves and the hobby, never having to hear from or see that weird couple ever again. That said, I'll wager $1 sand dollar that these stories in these funny boxes should be enough to lighten the mood. Try me, you know I'm good for it. Till next time.